19 of the application. It has printed on the ones that Jen's did, but the one I did, yours is printed.
There's definitely something about that page that doesn't come over very well, does it?
No, because I printed it out and it didn't print.
I did run through this.
So I brought some copies just in case.
Yeah, no, members have had all of that.
Oh, that's all.
This is the page with the conditions on.
Yeah.
Yes, you've all seen it, haven't you? Thank you, Jen.
Right, welcome everyone. Please could members and officers in physical attendance with an electronic device mute it to avoid feedback. Please could any remote participants keep their cameras and microphones off unless they wish to speak. The meeting may be recorded and data collected during the recording of the meeting will be retained in accordance with the Council's data retention policy. The recording of the meeting may be added to the Council's website. Members accessing the meeting remotely should use their Swale Borough Council or Kent County Council laptops to participate virtually. If you join using the link on the website or on a mobile or tablet device, it may not always be possible to identify you and you may not be recorded as being in remote attendance. I welcome everyone to the Licensing Subcommittee meeting. Just need to go through the emergency fire evacuation. There are no scheduled tests for fire alarms during this event. If the alarm does sound, please leave the building quickly without collecting any of your possessions, using the doors signed as fire escape and assembling the car park at the front of the building and await instructions from the fire marshal before returning to the building. Should anyone require assistance in evacuating the building, please make the volunteer staff in front of the office aware of any special needs, so suitable arrangements can be made in the event of an emergency. Have we got any apologies? Thank you. Right, I'll introduce myself. I'm Councillor Derek Carnell, Chair of the committee. To my right.
I'm Councillor Chris Palmer.
And I'm Councillor Carol Jackson.
And to my left.
Helen Ward, Legal Advisor.
Joanna Thomas, Licensing Officer.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Can I confirm that all parties are aware of the subcommittee's hearing procedure and that each party has a copy of the hearing procedure document? The subcommittee will allow all parties to put their case fully and make full submissions. The subcommittee procedure shall take the form of a discussion led by the subcommittee. Where any person attending the hearing behaves in a disruptive manner, the subcommittee may direct that person to leave the hearing, including temporarily. All subcommittee members have pre-read all the papers and any other documents contained in the report regarding the hearing. Please could I ask the licensing officer to introduce the report.
Thank you. Members are asked to consider an application for the grant of a new premises licence under the Licensing Act 2003 in respect of Co-op Stones Farm Bapchild, in which an objection has been received. As the premises is on a new build estate with addresses in the process of being allocated at the time the premises licence application was made, the address provided on the application, that of Co-op Stones Farm Bapchild, Sittingbourne, ME9 9AB, was incorrect. The applicant solicitor has confirmed the correct address as Unit A and B, Blossom Street, Bapchild, Sittingbourne, ME10 4GA. The applicant has advertised at the premises and in the local newspaper with the address provided on the application. The newspaper advert detailed that it is a new build development and the new estate is well known to residents of Sittingbourne as Stones Farm Estate. The notice was posted on the exterior of the building, visible to passers-by. Swell Licensing are satisfied the public have been adequately informed and given the opportunity to make representations. The licensable activities being applied for are shown as paragraph 3.2 of the report on page 4 of the agenda. The full application is shown at Appendix 1, pages 9 to 28 of the agenda, and the plan of the premises is on page 27. As members will be aware, there is a 28-day consultation period when an application is made, during which time any responsible authority, a councillor or interested party may make representations about the application, provided the grounds are relevant to the licensing objectives. For this application, no representations were made by responsible authorities. One representation was received from an interested party, a local resident. The representation was made on the basis of two licensing objectives, that of the prevention of crime and disorder and the prevention of public nuisance. The interested party did not wish to appear before the licensing subcommittee today. Their representation made during the consultation period is shown as Appendix 3 on page 29 of the agenda. The applicant's solicitor, Mr. Arnott, has provided additional documentation to support the application in light of the representation. These documents can be seen as Appendices 4, 5 and 6, starting on page 31. Mr. Arnott will be presenting to members today. It now falls to members to determine this application.
Thank you, Joanna. Mr. Arnott, would you like to lay out your case, please?
I shall do so, but first of all, I'll introduce myself formally. I'm Richard Arnott, and I'm a partner in a law firm called Ward Hadaway up in Newcastle, and I represent the Co-op in all of their contested licensing applications. I am to be joined today by a gentleman called Paul Hoskins, and Paul's the local ops manager. He's had some problems this morning, but hopefully he's only about 5 or 10 minutes away. But rather than delay the start of this meeting, I thought we'd just crack on. Hopefully, because I've been doing this for a very long time for the Co-op, there aren't any questions that you have that I can't answer. That may well be tempting fate by saying that, but Paul can wrap up any particular ops questions that you might have. What I'm not going to do today is take up any of your time explaining who the Co-op are. 2,000 plus stores, been around for a very, very long time. I think it's 82,000 people employed in food alone. The world's largest consumer cooperative with 8.2 million members. All being well, and obviously today is a significant part of all being well, the retail unit at Stones Farm, now known I think as Spring Acres, which is a large housing development, about 310 houses, that will open as a convenience store in August. Being a convenience store, part of that convenience to our customers, whether they're coming in to top up the fridge or the larder or buy the family shop, is to be able to buy alcohol as well as everything else that they might need from us, as you would expect with a convenience store of this sort of size in this day and age. Now, typically, though, stores of this size, alcohol only represents around 15% of turnover. So if we do the maths, 85% of what we anticipate selling, groceries, household products, etc., etc. So this would never be an off-license in the sort of booze buster sense. That's not how these premises sort of work. We've been around, Co-op been around for a very long time, 180 years, I think. Very, very familiar. We all are with them. We understand our responsibilities. We know what you expect, first of all, but also our neighbours, responsible authorities. And we invest a lot of time and effort in developing sophisticated policies and procedures to make sure that we do our very best not to let anybody down. Each region has a risk manager. His or her job to make sure that each store implements those policies and procedures. It's not sort of something that comes from above. Part of the way in which stores are judged is how they apply these policies. It's no accident, of course, that risk managers are involved in this process, because getting it wrong is risk. And whenever I attend meetings with Co-op, and I've been representing them for about 14 years now, risk is always a word that's mentioned, because they do their very best to avoid it. I've provided some training documents to you. I'm not going to test you on them. I'll just assume you've flicked through them. That's level 1. There are other levels as well. But what I wanted to do is just demonstrate the lengths at which Co-op go to providing training. They have an arrangement with the Education Department of Manchester University, and they're constantly looking at ways of how they implement training, what's the best way of doing it, how people learn, etc., etc. So that's just a demonstration. But when you start with a co-op, you get an induction. Part of that induction is this understanding, but lots of things, but age-restricted products, particularly, and at the end of it, there's a sort of an exam. You don't pass your exam, you don't go anywhere, you store effectively. They also have a process called lockdown. Now, that's a word we've been using way before the pandemic. And what basically happens is, even if you've passed your little exam, you don't go anywhere near an age-restricted product until we being the store manager, are satisfied that you are sufficiently robust to apply what it's fine knowing what the rules are, but we need to know that you're confident enough to apply them, refusing sales being an example. And it's only when the store manager is confident that you will apply the rules are you then released from lockdown and allowed then to sell age-restricted products. You get 2 refreshers every year, and if at any time we lose confidence in you, you tip back into lockdown. What that basically means is you're locked out of the till, so you can't sell age-restricted products, and you have to satisfy us that you're not a risk to us. CCTV, 26 cameras internally and externally at this particular premises. We are very sophisticated. There's iCCTV. I'm not going to bore you with the CCTV, but it's not your sort of system you buy from B&Q. It's a lot more sophisticated than that. Plans, you've seen the plans. Again, I won't go through them with you unless you particularly want me to. The BWS, which you'll have seen on a couple of the displays, that stands for beer, wine and spirits. Now, spirits are kept behind the counter, but that's where the beer and wine is. And as you've seen on the plan, next to the counter, easy to then supervise. Now, we license the entire floor because we might have promotions, we might move things around. Staff, up to 12 members of staff will be employed at this store, obviously new jobs. And personal license holders, 3, potentially 4 at this store. And the reason that we do that is each team leader would have a personal license. Now, if you imagine your average pub, they probably have 1 personal license holder, and that's the DPS. Age prompt tills, I've mentioned the TIMs already in terms of locking people out, but also when I started this job many years ago, these things were first introduced. It's like a button you press to say, yes, I've checked. Everything is barcoded, it gets scanned through the till, and the till alerts the cashier to the fact that it's an age-restricted product. And then there's a screen, and the screen reminds them yet again what the process is in terms of satisfying themselves that this person is of age. They are time-locked as well, which means that we can't sell alcohol outside of our permitted times, which is just another added safeguard. Challenge 25, I think we were the first of the nationals to apply this. Everybody does it now, and you'll understand what it is. Now, being a co-op as well, being a community-based organisation, we're very involved in our local communities. That's kind of our USP, if you like. And local members decide which particular good causes to support. Now, since 2016, the co-op as a whole, as part of the community fund, has donated 138 million nationally to good causes. Within Swale, it supports 22 local projects since 2021. I don't have the figures for how much we've distributed, but I can tell you that we do support local projects and will continue to do that. Oh, here's Paul. We've applied, you've seen, for 6 to 11, and those are standard hours for a store of this particular size. Why 6? It's a convenience store, and it's all about convenience. Now, we will not be selling much alcohol at 6 in the morning, obviously, but if it's convenient for you to do your shop at that time, we'd like that to be available, as well as everything else. My wife's a nurse, she often does night shift, she shops at all silly hours, and it's just about convenience. But please don't think that we are setting our stall out at 6 in the morning to serve alcohol to people who are alcohol dependent. That's just not how it works. And that particular demographic, bearing in mind, going back to that word risk, they're of no interest to us. Planning as well, I know that's irrelevant for the purposes of licensing, but just for your comfort, planning is 6 to 11. You'll be aware of this Section 182 guidance, that's the Secretary of State's guidance, and at 10.15 it says, shops, stores and supermarkets should normally be free to provide sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises at any times when the retail outlet is open for shopping, unless there are good reasons, based on licensing objectives, for restricting those hours. So those will just be our hours, so we'd like to be able to sell all our products. So that's why we've applied for that time. Now, you've seen the conditions. I'm happy to go through them with you. They are, I know we're warned in the guidance against standard conditions, but these are conditions that we use up and down the country. We know that they work. and they're in your agenda. I don't have a page number. 19, brilliant. CCTV, staff training, training records, refreshers, incident and refusals log. All of this stuff as well. The refusals log, that's quite interesting. That's monitored, so you can see patterns. So if a particular store, and I can't imagine it would happen at Backfield, but sort of an urban city centre store, if you know that there are lots of people attempting to buy alcohol underage, you might want to put additional measures in, but you analyse all this data and it's very helpful in making sure that we massage out risk. Challenge 25, etc., etc. I don't think there's anything there in the conditions that I need to explain to you. It's all pretty straightforward. So, Co-op, as I've said, been around for ages. If there was sort of systemic failure at Co-op, if we were bad at the job, you'd know all about it. I mean, you have Co-ops around and about here, I'm sure you do. Well, obviously you do, because Paul sat behind me, he's the local ops manager. We're not interested in operating troublesome premises. And there's lots of reasons for that. Moral, first of all, because of the nature of the organisation we are, but also, if you want to be cynical, commercial. Because if our locals, and we're here to serve the local community, don't think well of us, if they're intimidated by going to us, they'll just shop somewhere else. So we've got absolutely every reason to make sure that we don't get this wrong and don't let anybody down. Before making the application, we spoke to the local police. We always do that, it's just courteous. And they wanted us to tinker slightly with the conditions, our standard conditions, which we did, nothing contentious. And the conditions that you see before you today, the application conditions, are those which we agreed with the police. No representations from any of the responsible authorities, trading standards, environmental health, etc. But we do have an objection from a single resident, one resident. Before discussing that, might be a useful point to just pause and remind ourselves of the law. Tread very carefully. You've got Helen. I'm not going to tread on her toes. But it's up to the objector, as you know, to convince you that there's evidence, and it's an evidence-based process. Her Honour Judge Black in the Thwaites case says that. We've also got that in the guidance. Not about speculation. It's not about crystal ball or anything like that. It's an evidence-based process, and objectors have to convince you with evidence that we'll let you down, that we'll fail to promote the licensing objectives. And with all due respect to the objector, I don't see anything in their letter which would alert you to any particular potential problem. So I think that's page 29, their objection, yeah. Just briefly go through that. I wish to object based on my concern that this new licence may, well, that's speculation, isn't it? Possibly, speculation again, public nuisance. And then she goes on to talk about already experiencing antisocial behaviour. Well, that can't be blamed on us, because we're not there. And if there was a significant issue within that particular locality, the police would be here telling you all about it, because that's kind of their job. And within the section 182 guidance, I think it's 9.12, it talks about how the police are your primary source of information on law and order issues, should they exist. She then goes to talk about encouraging more vehicles. Well, vehicular traffic is not relevant for the licensing objectives, that's highways, planning. And she talks about lack of parking. Well, again, irrelevant, but as you've seen from the photographs that I provided, there's a great big car park outside the premises, so I don't think it's going to be an issue. Most customers, though, we know this from our experience, will live within about a quarter of a mile. This particular store will be serving principally that estate, so that'll be people walking to us anyway. So I don't think, unless there's any particular questions you have of me, if there's anything that I've failed to deal with, apologies, more than happy to answer any questions you have, and Paul's now here, hot foot, and if there's any operational questions, we can share any more information that you might feel is relevant.
Thank you. Miss Oz, would you like to introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, sorry, apologies for being late. My name's Paul Hoskins. I'm the operations manager for the Co-op stores in the local area.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, I think it's probably Mr Hoskins who can answer this for me. You're 12 members of staff, allegedly over 7 days. How many do you expect to employ during the course of a day over 18? Because I have concerns that if you have a 17-year-old employed, you won't be employing... I saw your head shaking. No, because that was my concern, that tea breaks, etc., and under 18 will be left on its own.
No, I mean, we don't discriminate against age, but because of the operation of our business and the way that we trade, we do try and keep all our colleagues over 18 purely for the licensing issues. And the only time we would employ somebody under 17 is if we was in a store where there was multiple colleagues working at the time, so there was always somebody of a responsible age present.
Thank you.
A 17-year-old.
Any other questions? No. I've got no questions. Helen?
Nothing from me, thank you, Chair.
Yeah, have you got any closing submissions?
Chair, even though I get paid by the hour, I'll just shut up now and you can get on with your part.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Right, well, we'll return as soon as possible. I will now read out the Licensing Subcommittee's decision. The Licensing Subcommittee has considered the application for a new premises licence for the Co-op store at Bapchild. The decision of the Licensing Subcommittee is to grant the application as applied for. Full reasons will be provided in a written decision which will follow the hearing within 5 working days. That decision will include information of how a party to the application may appeal if they wish. Any appeal must be made within 21 days, beginning on the day that the written decision is notified to the appellant. The hearing is now closed.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thanks a lot.
And